All right, welcome back. You game changers, you people that are up to something and making the life of passion and a life of purpose and meaning. If you're new to the channel, that's an option that you have. What I'm set out to do with this is to give people the insights and the details to really start creating something magnificent by restructuring your foundation, if you will. Anyway, this is the Maturity Project, and I am your host, Chad Everett Broshears. Today's conversation is actually it's an incredibly important one that it's so incredibly um, necessary for a solid foundation when you're really putting things together in life, and that has to do with honesty and or why people lie. As when people tell you something specifically, it's going to be something that you rely on, that you can put into either what you're currently working on, so you can build onto the foundation of something, or the foundation of your goal that you're working on right now, to help become successful. And there's a lot of reasons behind things, right? Like, you really do need to get the right formula put together in order to be successful. And or at least the formula needs to line up in such a way that it gives you it gives you more of the outcome that you're really looking for. The right formula could be, there's too many variables for it being, it's kind of subjective, but there are the more ideal, and then there are the, suboptimal, but they're still optimal, just not quite the best, right? And the best way to start really qualifying where you are with what you want to accomplish is to understand the reality of what you're dealing with, right? So when you're dealing with somebody else, ideally, you'd prefer everybody just be honest so that you can work your way through with the information that you have in order to achieve the outcome that you're after, with the most predictable options and the ideas. If you could only imagine, like, if computer systems would lie to each other for specific reasons and how messed up the entire thing would be. That's one of the other reasons why computing systems are so much faster than people, is it just communicates true data. We don't. We communicate a lot of different things for different reasons. And I'm not downing anybody, by the way. That is not the way this channel is designed. That is not the way this education is designed, the Maturity Project. It's not to make you wrong for the things that you've done in your life, other than to understand that it was the less effective way if it falls into the wrong category. And you may not have understood the real costs when you started off in that journey. Because we just sit there and the immediate thing is always right there, what's in front of us, right? Which is, okay, well, if I am in a situation where I need to be honest for, the ideal outcome, but I see the real threat for what happens if I am honest here, then you can really run into some serious challenges, because you don't want to look bad and you don't want to lose the opportunities that may be in front of you. So deception is, preferred for a lot of people. I've gone through my own challenges with this. My father, he had to lie in order to really hold together the reality of the life he wanted to live, and I don't fault him for that. I really don't. He just didn't have the right level of courage to be fully honest, but at the same time, I was not in his seat. I did not go through everything he went through. I didn't process the world of information that he had to process, and I did not have all of the costs that he had. So for me to sit and be like, oh, he did the wrong thing, I can't make that call. I won't make that call. I'm an outcome of him making the calls that he's made. And I learned what I've learned. And generationally, he actually set something, up that can actually create a greater outcome for more people than if I had had it the way that I thought I should have had it. Right. So going back and saying things should be different because of my moral position now, and therefore things would be better had that been, like, the hindsight, the cannibalism of hindsight, really, because it does do that at times too, where it just destroys the past and does little to create desirable outcomes for the future, when it gives you the justification of why they were wrong. You know, the righteousness of the other people being labeled as not being accurate or not being good, or whatever the thing is that turns into a social issue, where you assign something negative to them. So, sure, negatives and positives are all over the place. Why not just start assigning them? But at the same time, what do you limit by putting those things into your space? So, honesty. Oh, the root cause of the majority of the reasons why people lie is that they don't feel safe to tell the truth. It's almost the entire reason why people lie, the absolute reasons for lying. Now, I'm not saying that because I'm not arrogant enough in my beliefs to say that this is it. There's no other reason to lie. You can lie for the greater good because you feel that the person cannot handle the information yet. But what does that say to them? Really? Especially if they actually can, or if they need that information, which I would actually lend to the side that they need the information. That's where they're going to be set free because you have given them something to set them free by. You've given them the information necessary to truly understand what's going on. But they could also be in a situation, which I can relate to this very easily. There may be so many things going on in their life right now. They need to be able to see that something is stable enough, even if the stability is a delusion to a degree, because there's lies associated with it, to keep it in a place that the person at least feels like they have a life raft, at least feel like they have something to hold on to when everything else seems to be falling apart. Right? Like, that's not a common stage in life for people, by the way. There's not a lot of people that actually deal with that on a regular basis where everything is falling apart all the time. It's a pretty miserable experience in existence, and we're so freaking capable as a species that we typically get to the point we can alleviate those challenges, in the point where we are, kind of content with where we are, so it doesn't feel like everything's falling apart continuously. It just may feel like, yeah, it's consistently not okay over here, but everything else seems to have stabilized enough to make me feel that life has value enough. So yeah, there could be times whenever that would be considered a justifiable and just lie, where you just create the reality for somebody else to make them believe that things are better than they are. That could be something as simple as a relationship that you're in that is starting to come apart because you're going through so many different challenges, and the person that's in the relationship with you says, you know what, even though it's falling apart, I need to make them understand or believe that it's all good, because I'm the pillar of stability that they have right now. So I need to be stable for them. Now, that's going to be painful later, whenever the reality comes out, unless the thing that makes that relationship feel that it's coming apart for the person that is deciding to lie, to the person that's got the whole world falling in on them, or it's all coming apart and coming to pieces, that may be something that gets corrected or rectified, because time also does something very interesting to all of us, and it teaches us all kinds of wonderful and beautiful things, because we continuously change our minds about the way things are happening around us, which is another beautiful thing, that we can change our minds. We don't get enough credit for that, but that's also into the world of adaptability. So, with that being said, root cause of all lies come from, or at least nearly all lies, come from not feeling safe to tell the truth. You just don't have the safe space to do it. There's motives behind all of it, by the way. So if that's true, which to me it has a great degree of truth, if not then absolute truth, but that would take a very deep conversation to really get to that point with people that really can explore at such a deep level. And I won't belabor you through the process of doing it during this video, especially since it's me talking to the camera, although I will have specific insights, possibly epiphanies during that conversation that I'm having with the microphone, and the future whoever's watching this video. But at one-sided again, I'm talking directly at, but I'm not getting any feedback. So, it's kind of like whatever I could discover in the process. But examples of, like, if I tell the truth, like some of the reasons why people lie, or the way that we speak to ourselves about things, if I tell the truth, I might get fired, right? Like a job situation. If you tell the truth, you might lose your job. Or if she finds out, the friendship will be over, or the relationship, however you want to qualify it. Even friendships or relationships, it's just to what degree, right? It might be over if they find out, though, this thing that I don't want you to find out. That could also be a motive for lying. No, it's just the inner dialogue. We got a lot of them, but those are just two examples. So the not so obvious examples that would make it obvious that people are telling a lie because they don't feel safe to tell the truth is pathological or storytelling. So pathological liars seem like they lie for no reason at all, and they just do it all the damn time, and they just keep doing it, and they lie about everything. They're like, yeah, I went out to get the mail, and I jumped on a car in the process, and then I, took that stuff and I went back inside, and then I sat down and watched TV. It's like, what? It's weird. What'd you jump on a car for? Pathological liars have a habit of lying. Now, pathological liars they're labeled that because they actually have a clinical diagnosis that's in the clinical world. I'm not a clinician. I don't practice that. I'm not out for that. That's not my journey in life. Just for clarity, and it's a disclaimer. I'm not one of those people. Don't sue me. Don't come after my license or practicing on a license. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Look, we're talking about human experiences. That's what I do. And I talk about insights for the maturity program, which is in the maturity project, 8 different areas of maturity. That's where I speak from. And I'm not the authority in all of them. I'm the insightful one that brings this stuff together and helps that it gets you to a place where you can have a deeper understanding of things and to be completely capable of developing yourself for the long-term benefits. I look at developing yourself right now as loving yourself in the future. Take the time. It's not easy, by the way. When you go to the gym, if you've gone to the gym, you know that it's uncomfortable to move. Embrace the uncomfort or the discomfort. If it's uncomfortable to move today in some modicum of value where you're just like, I'm just getting in better shape or I'm getting healthier or whatever, it's a whole lot better than the discomfort that comes with being lack of mobility and chronic pain or dis-ease. So do something. Build your future. Love yourself enough to create your future. Love yourself enough right fucking now. Because I got to tell you, it doesn't matter who's in your life. There's a specific amount of love you need to give yourself, or otherwise other people can't access you. They're going to know you to some vacancy. Love yourself, goddammit. Love yourself. I see more in my own work. Shit. So 8 different areas of maturity. All right. So the not so obvious areas of lying is the pathological. You're not going to look at them and go, well, they don't feel safe to tell the truth, so therefore they're going to lie. Because you're going to go, wait, no, there's nothing that they actually lied for there that made them feel like that required that their safety to tell the truth there. That was stupid. There was no reason for that lie. That was just nonsense. They just used air. Basically is the only thing that you can qualify about the fact that they lied there. Like, they don't feel safe to not spend the oxygen to tell the lie, like that level. Well, here's the thing is that at some point in time, there was a pattern that was established in lying that gave a reward sequence that had that person fortify that behavior, that pattern. And then it turned into something pathological. They can't control the lies anymore because there's such a reward sequence without enough of an understanding of the costs. They don't see the cost enough, but the reward is so much greater. And it's so habitual that they probably don't even realize that they're focused on reward consistently. Because why lie about something so stupid, like going out to get the mail? Good job, you got the mail. Why did you tell me about it? Unless there was something out there that was of importance. But if you feel that you really need to feel important for whatever reason, it's silly, but it's, importance is not this monolithic thing where you stop some meteor from hitting from hitting the planet. It doesn't have to be that. It can be something as simple as, yeah, I feel important because, in this moment I got your attention. You said, wow, that's pretty neat or interesting. My reward is set. It is a build-in. It's credibility values that you get out of it. So the pathological and storytellers. Now, I've met a lot of storytellers too. You know them as well. You know them very well. You might be one of them. When somebody tells a story, you got another one. It's going to one-up them. You've got something that's going to be better. They're storytellers, man. It's just think about take away all the written language, take away all the modern day conveniences, and go back far enough in history where that was a real occupation. You'd have to have a better storytelling, a better story to tell than the person that's sitting there next to you or near you that's there telling stories, waiting for other people to pay them, because it was a business, it was the economy. A lot of religious stories were based in that, or came from that as they started to reach the parchment, which was the types of rudimentary paper prior to paper. You know, yeah, it was pretty interesting what we've done through history. But the point of it is storytelling is storytelling. It's one that they want some sort of acknowledgement. If they don't have the acknowledgement, they have lack of validation. If they have lack of validation, well, they don't feel like they really mean much in life. And it is uncomfortable and it feels unsafe to lack validation because they don't have enough of it. And there's a habit formed to validate themselves, and they might actually be very far along and have a lot of people acknowledge and validate who they are, but it doesn't mean that that's actually you understand where they're at and what this means to them. There's such a habit in it. They found such a success route for their life that lying gets them there. So this stuff happens, man. It's people that lie are not spitting evil. They're not turning everything into the greatest evil possible. That's not the motive behind a lot of people. There are people that truly do have this, it almost seems like an evil gene, if you will. But I would argue and say that that's actually more people conditioned in life, like people that seem to represent things that are less desirable or the evil concepts of life, the really undesirable things. It's a conditioned thing. They didn't know any better. Somewhere along the line, somebody, made them believe that was the right way to do it, or that was at least an effective way to do things that was more easily obtainable to them than to, go another route, things that would be more socially acceptable or desirable, the virtuous route, right? If you don't have virtuous people to teach you virtue, then you have vice-driven people to teach you vice. Um, doesn't mean you're evil. It just means that's what you've learned that was successful. It's not easy to unlearn that stuff. But I live my life with the purpose of being able to make change for people, to get them to a place that actually gets more and more people to live in harmony and or to live a empowered and rewarding life that does not cost other people theirs in order for somebody to live into that reality. Now, I'm not an egalitarian. I'm not that. There's a lot of those things that I'm not. And I'm not speaking from that. I'm speaking from personal development, and I'm speaking from empowerment. I'm speaking from, I want to see you have the life that you want to have, but I'm not going to do it for you. I just wish to inspire you. That's what my efforts are for, is to give clarity and inspiration. We don't need to hate everybody that's ever lied to us. Actually, a lot of those people need love. I'll get to the trust part because love can be given from trust, but you need to get there before you just start throwing love around. Now, and I'll explain how you can do that even on a low level here shortly. But as far as those types of examples, let's get back to the pattern here that I'm working on, or the pre-laid conversation here. The not so obvious examples of people not feeling safe, and that's why they lie, is pathological liars and storytellers. It's really hard to understand that they're doing it because they don't feel safe to tell the truth. It's just that their reality is so built into something that they don't feel safe to tell you whatever's true, even though it's very small. It's there's just so little value to what they're actually lying for to you. That doesn't mean that it is that to them. It's all relative. So, if they're pathological and or storytelling, they're typically lying through a habit. Pathological people specifically and especially, it's a habit of lying. They can't break it. It's so consistent. That's the reality. That's what they see in their mind before they even say anything into the world. And it's just in that, how can I really get the best out of this? I have a friend of mine's good friend, or at least a friend of his. I more accept him as an acquaintance. because I don't know him and I can't know him. He'll lie his way through everything, and I don't have enough time nor the privilege or even the relationship from the person that has introduced me to this person. I don't have the permission through them to truly get to know this person because I've been told that I can't call them out. I cannot put them in a position that makes them responsible for what they've said so that I can better understand it and better understand them and they can better understand me. We're not able to do that because of this friend's boycott of that or the restrictions that he's put on me. And I honor that because I truly, I love the gentleman that I'm speaking about. He's a lifelong friend of mine, one of my best friends. So I honor that because that's his limitation. And I've worked my way through many different conversations to try to change it in a way that I could access this other gentleman in a way that we could really better understand him. And he's made it very clear to me at this stage right now, he is unwilling to grant that. So I honor it. But I only honor it for now. And I'll continuously work on it until I finally get that. Or at some point in time, I may just look past it, violate a tenet of my relationship with this individual so that I can potentially help reach this other person, because this other person's suffering in life is due to his own creation. And the longer he stays in that, the more those habits are built, structured, and strengthened, and to likely remain that way for life. And that's not just him, it's everybody else who gets involved with him will deal with the chaos of dishonesty. So I hope that one day I can actually get that, because it is a point of, I stand for that. And it's the commitment that I have to my friend that I won't address it. And I have to revisit that. So anyway, this is me working my way through that conversation. All right, moving on. Examples of different types of lies. There's a lot of them. So there's the obvious lie or the overt and exaggerated reality. It's very obvious. As soon as you hear it, you're like, Jesus Christ, dude, come on, man. I know what you're saying here. That's not true. Those can also be because you were present during it. It's typically not the exaggerated version, but it's the overt lie. And it's not a perspective-based thing either. It's a preference to manipulate the reality. Versus, like, yeah, I just had a different vantage point. I couldn't see what you saw, blah, blah, blah. Those things are, by comparison, those are actually just different experiences and perspectives. Those aren't lies. This is the lie. This is whenever somebody actually is purposely distorting reality in order to gain something out of it. So you also have lies by omission. I just didn't tell you that. Somewhat recently I was told that, and this is the lies by omission, that it is so incredibly hard to be honest with me because of the way I'll react. Now, granted, this person in particular is in a very close relationship to me that it was incredibly meaningful, and it was easy to be upset or hurt in that conversation simply because it's such a raw area for me, and I hadn't let people in that deep really ever in my life. So that was that's still a lie by omission. I've done that actually a lot in life. There's that falls into the white lies or half truths. You don't really tell everybody everything. You just tell them enough to get them to feel confident and comfortable in the situation so that they can function. But it's one of those, like, I just don't want to hurt you, so I just told you part of it, not all of it. It's still a lie. The question would be is, why are you creating relationships that actually use that as a function? Is what you do regularly becomes who you are. So if you lie regularly by omission, you will live as a liar through omission. You'll also likely, like myself, got to the point where I spoke with a lot of encryption in the way that I spoke with people because I wanted to, to feel confident and comfortable that I was telling people the truth. It was that they didn't decipher it properly, which was intentional on my part, which made it a lie. I've not always been the most honest, but I also didn't realize I wasn't being honest because I made a statement at a much younger stage of my life saying, I will always tell the truth, no matter what. And then I came up with, whenever, I had the option to be honest or speak in a way that gave me some honesty and I felt better about it than to feel like I lied. It's a cowardice approach. To not tell somebody the truth is also cowardice, which means that you don't feel safe enough to be honest to yourself, let alone to them. So you have to distort reality in order to survive. I'm not downing anybody for the decisions they've made, but I am telling you from this, you can't plead ignorance anymore. If you've watched this and you understand it, you can't plead ignorance anymore. If you want real power, stop lying. Don't lie. You will find that you start collecting people around you, which would be the 6 people that are closest to you, will be up to something in life because you're creating that environment. You are being the difference that you want to see in the world. And you'll attract people that are up to things that actually fit that. And the more honest you are, the better off you are, because you can actually start identifying people that aren't honest because you are honest. It's be the change you wish to see. So if somebody lies to you today, does not mean they'll lie to you indefinitely. Eventually, it comes to the surface. It can only last for so long anyway. Reality has a way of breaking through all barriers that have been associated with dishonesty. It has a way of doing it. It's fascinating, and it will work. And then it comes into the play where people do the gaslighting, or they make you believe that what you believe is not true because, what could you know? You're fallible. You just misunderstood, blah, 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 whatever. That's a whole nother conversation, but that's, part of the narcissist or antisocial personality disorder characteristics that really break people down to gain control. So, lies to avoid conflict. Understandable. Falls into the whole thing also with avoidance or lies by omission. I just don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to cause problems. So I lied to you. Well, that also, again, that belittles the person's abilities to deal with the truth and reality. I made a commitment somewhat recently that I'm not going to lie anymore. Not. And one person in particular, man, I got to tell you, it was fucking rough. Because the way that she would react when I would tell her the truth was incredibly hard. And it was chaotic. It was incredibly challenging. But I loved her and myself enough to tell the truth. It's fascinating what you're capable of accomplishing. So, I'm emotional because this is actually a recap from pretty much my entire life. Because if you don't tell people the complete truth, they also can't know you for who you are all the way through. They only know you to what you'll let them know. And the longer you do that, the more lonely you feel, even when you've got people in your life. Well, I got to the point I felt incredibly lonely because I constructed my life that way. Now, it wasn't like, okay, well, I was told at some point in time, you go this direction, you're going to create this much problems, but you can at least get this much of a solution, and therefore, it's a desirable direction. Go ahead and go that route. It wasn't like that. You just figure shit out along the way as you interact with people, because we have so much education, we have so much structure, we have so much support in life, but yet we still are fucking growing up feral. We're growing up in the wilds of suburbia, which is the previous name of this channel, by the way. We grow up in a way that's like, yeah, we're sophisticated, we're college educated, we're whatever, and yet we're still these, immature creatures that will screw another over in our own freaking species just to get ahead. It's like, you don't realize you're doing that stuff. You find yourself there. Yeah, welcome to politics, right? But you find yourself there, and then you have to figure out how to survive once you've been labeled that way, or you put yourself into a category you could get labeled that way. And then it's the fear of being found out is near the same as the fear of death. It's like, no way am I going to let you find out that I've lied to you or misled you in any way. So you kind of come to that. You're not told if you choose this route, you will become this person. It's not something we have. The Maturity project is set up for that. That is part of what I'm doing, is that I need to get a education put together in such a way that you understand 8 different areas of maturity that you can contribute to your own life's fulfillment by developing yourself in every area and every derivation of those areas, so that you have a fulfilling life, so we can move ourselves forward and stop all of this ridiculousness where we have all this infighting and nonsense. We're not unified as a species. We are fighting each other tooth and nail because of somebody else's desire for power, which is usually associated with just validation that they exist. And then they want whatever they can get out of it, and they get drunk on the ideas that they become subjective to, subject of. So, anyway, lies to avoid conflict. Well, lies to build credibility. I want you to believe that I'm somebody more important than I am. Or I want you to believe that I'm somebody more important that I believe that I actually am. And I need you to be able to get there as fast as possible. And I can't take you through the trials and tribulations necessary to teach you the entirety of this. So I'm going to mislead you enough that you can see the benefit that I have. Common storyteller type stuff too, by the way. I can think of plenty of examples, and a very recent story that I'd heard that the gentleman had lied, so you had to suspend reality in order to believe the story he was telling this person. And from that left me with, I was really shocked that this person believed that person that lied to her. Because it was, you had to suspend reality in order to believe it. But I realized what it was is that it was a lie for credibility, which was he was building upon his previous credibility with her so that he could get her to the point. And it's kind of a passive gaslighting approach, if you will. It's not there yet. He's not truly gaslighting her by telling her her understandings of reality is false, and that what she experienced was bullshit, and that it was a lie or a misconception, and that she was wrong, he's right, that kind of stuff. It's not that level of gaslighting yet. It's just it's almost like preparing that opportunity in its own way. But it really left me with, how the hell did you get to understand that that was true? It was all so incredibly ridiculous. And I got plenty of examples in that story, and the story sounded more like a dream than it did a reality. But it was told to her in a way that really, like, she just suspended reality because of the credibility she had with him. So it's a lie for credibility. Oh, and what the motives are behind that, you don't necessarily need to know as much, because you don't need to know that to understand it's happening. Just know that it's happening, and then you can do something with it. Self-delusions is another type of lie, and that's where you just believe that you're capable of something that you're not. You are going to be somewhere that you're not necessarily set up for. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get there. You could get so far into the belief that you're capable of doing it that you actually pull it off. Fake it till you make it kind of thing. But there's a reality that comes with that as well. Just because in your mind you're believing that you're there doesn't mean that you're not going to construct a reality that convinces you that you're there, without the actual reality validating it. You could just sit there and keep telling yourself things. That's delusion. But it also can become an infectious concept whenever it comes to self-delusion, because if somebody else is there and they seem to be successful, why aren't you doing similar patterns in your own reality so that you could potentially achieve the same thing? It's fascinating how we do this stuff. Anyway, so there's self-delusions, and then the white lies and half-truths I mentioned earlier already, by lies by omission. But it has so much value when it comes to this. But what does this all lead to? Well, honesty leads to a conversation and a concept called trust. Trust. This is fascinating about trust. I ask people for definitions on important things. Like when somebody tells me that they're dating, well, I'll ask them, what's your definition of love? Because what is it? If you can't define it, it's going to be hard to find it. It's a lottery approach, right? But what we do is we're like, how many people are in this world, blah, blah, and then we get through this whole like, okay, well, there's that many people out there, so therefore I should be able to pull this off, blah, blah, blah. So define it if you want to find it. And if you don't want it to control you and you have more of an ability to achieve it, define it. So Google's definition of trust is a firm belief in the reliability of someone or something. That's the Google definition. That's fine. That's pretty accurate for a lot of people. But it has restrictions that my working definition does not. So I have a working definition of trust. And the working definition of trust is your ability to allocate resources based off of a predictability of somebody else so that you can understand your return on investment. That return on investment can be something as simple as I just want you to be a closer friend of mine. I just want somebody close to me that I can rely on, that I believe in, that will tell me the truth and appreciate me for who I am. Like those kind of things. By the way, that's another part of honesty, is to not mislead anyone. No, sure, you want me to believe that you're honest all the time, but you're not. If you want nothing but sycophants around you, you're not going to grow much. And you're going to find at some point in time you'll resent the people that you keep around you because they don't tell you the truth and you're not getting enough growth and you're going to struggle. Then they're going to be easy to enroll in your drama, but they're not going to be easy to develop into an outcome that is desirable to truly create something for yourself. It's going to be real hard to get to that because you're going to constantly be in the mindset of drama. You know, and you know when you're there. No, you know you're there. If you don't, you better be subscribed to this channel. Actually, subscribe to this channel anyway. Fuck it. We're all up to something, right? Hit the subscribe button. The bell notification too, so you know when I go live, whether it's my shorts or if it's, whatever, when I update and upload. All right. So my working definition, again, is your ability to allocate resources so that you can expect a specific return on your investment. That investment, again, could be something as simple as I just want to be friends with you. I just want somebody that I can qualify by the definition of a friend. If you don't have that, you're probably going to want to write that out too. Because a friend would have a specific expectation on a return. They're there for you under what circumstances and by what, and how are they there for you? If you don't define it, it gets to be a bit of a challenge. If you're dealing with a lot of issues with friends, you better get to writing out some definitions. If you're dealing with a lot of relationship issues or love issues, you better get to definitions. If you're dealing with finance issues, you better get to some definitions. That's the same thing in every aspect of the maturity project. If you're dealing with one of these areas, which I guarantee you are, I am, and I originated this education, and I'm still dealing with all kinds of things. But I can allocate my resources to growth in that area because I'm aware of it. Once you're aware, you can do a lot with that type of thing. So, whichever definition serves you better, in my opinion. Let me expand on mine. So, the previous one, which is Google's definition, is the firm belief and the reliability of someone or something. Okay. You could, and it still actually that functions with mine as well, but I'm going to elaborate on mine a bit more. There are a lot of people that want just the desirable parts of trust, which is honesty, reliability, loyalty, things like that, right? Well, with mine is your ability to predict an outcome. You can trust, with my definition, you trust everybody 100% based on the level that you understand them and know them, and then where do you put them in the category of how close are they to you? Are they out there at a distance, or are they really close to you? If somebody lies to you, well, with this education, you can understand why they lied to you, because you can really start to, really dig into understanding their motives and how to help support them so they don't have to lie to you again, but also how to protect your own resources so that even if they don't lie to you again, you're not hurt. And if they lie to you again, you're not hurt. Either way, you're protected. That can be discovered through, this education. If they lie, well, you trust that they'll lie. It's not a big deal. You just trust they'll lie. Then you can allocate what resources you're willing to share with them. If your resource is just your attention and your time and the communication that you have, but their lies were about a financial thing, and that maybe they asked to borrow money and then they lied because they didn't have any intention of paying you back. Well, it doesn't mean you killed a friendship, but it does have a weight against the friendship because you believe that they would actually take care of things, and then you qualify how good of a friend they must be if they don't care to pay you back. Now, they may not be able to pay you back. And there's even situations where they could pay you back, but they're not able because they don't have that level of maturity in their finances to actually honor that. And that's something that they need nourishment and nurturing. You can help them with that, and simply by giving them parameters for the next loan. And the next loan could be one, you won't give them much what they want by what they're asking for, but some degree of something, and put a contingency on it. If I loan you this money, you're going to read this book, and then you're going to do X amount of whatever. You're going to take this action, you're going to do that action, whatever it is. You're setting the parameters so that you know that they're growing and they're developing, and you're being contributory to their long-term success versus just give them the money and let them figure it out on their own devices, which obviously, if they're asking you for money, their own devices have left them short or wanting to some degree. You can disrupt that by making things real for them, by making them do something that'll fundamentally make some changes for them in the desirable direction, so they're less likely to be the one asking for money next time, but they may be the one that actually has the ability to loan somebody else money and therefore pay forward this exercise. Why not? Give a lesson, not money. But doesn't mean you don't offer them that as well, but create clear parameters and expectations of that loan. When you expect payback, and if you expect interest or not, and then what other actions do you expect? Me personally, I don't do personal loans with interest to come back to me as much as the financial interests, like a percentage base or whatever I loaned out. My preference is a maturity percentage. I will require that if you take this loan from me, that you read this book or you put these actions in and you understand exactly what you're doing, so that I know that I am being supportive of their long-term success versus just giving them some money and letting them leaving them to their own devices that led them to where they currently are. So it does take a little bit more work to do it my way, but I'll tell you right now, I'm willing to do the work because I want to see the change in this world. So I do what I do. And I encourage other people to start shifting their perspectives, and then they can join me in this pursuit, because there's nothing logical about this that actually falls short that I'm aware of. But if there is, by all means, put it in the comments section. Let's have a dialogue about it. So with trust, if you use my working definition, you'll also be able to meet people compassionately and say, whoever you were prior to that moment can be a person that is no longer who you are moving forward, but the foundation of who you are, but you're able to change some of these things. We can go in, we can fix some of those cracks. We can work on your integrity. We can work on a lot of things because I have the capacity to help give you some insights and some guidance in that. You can make the world a different place simply by shifting your perspective. So you could also take away the scarlet letter. If you're familiar with the scarlet letter, it's for adultery and all this, but with this, it's just one of the many scarlet letters. It's the scarlet letter of T. It's the violation of trust that people love to brand other people with. And by the way, a lot of people get branded with a violation of trust that is just simply because of a misunderstanding. Communication is incredibly important, and that's part of the process of the maturity process project, is to understand how to communicate in an effective way, and to be able to get the feedback necessary to qualify that you actually truly did communicate in a very deep, meaningful way, versus I said the words, you agreed to it, you didn't live up to it, you're a bad person, therefore you deserve, something close to death or something, right? Like you're not allowed in my circles, you're not allowed around certain people, whatever it is that the punishment is associated with that particular betrayal. We don't have to live that way anymore. We don't have to go around doing an eye for an eye approach to everything. We can absolutely create a better outcome because we are smart enough, we're capable, and we're, by God, we have it in us. No, let's get there. So, all right, what can you do knowing all of this? Well, one of the things is you cannot condemn people for practicing life. You could absolutely get to the point that you can take joy in understanding that people are practicing life. Some people did not get interrupted when they were 8 years old and they told a pretty good lie that got them attention. And somebody, they may not have had somebody that stepped in to teach them that it was wrong to mislead other people that way. They may not have had somebody to be able to truly reach them because the reward was greater than the work required. Or they didn't even have guidance enough. They were just told that they could do it differently, but then nobody was there to show them. And they were left to their own devices. So therefore, obviously, they're going to take the path that has been proven to work for them. Even if it's less efficient or if it has long-term consequences, explain that to an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10. You pick the age of adolescence. It's still there. And then we become adults with that level of development. We're so incredibly complex. We can break all this stuff. You just have to be aware of it. You can break the patterns of where we've locked ourselves in this time capsule of the past. So we can create effective forgiveness. We can start forgiving people for what we have labeled them as being deceivers, liars, or whatever. And we can say, you know what? I forgive you. I'm not pulling you back in where you were. I'm not opening myself up to that type of potential damage or chaos or harm. But I'm not exiling you from my life. I'm just putting you in a position that you have the opportunity to develop yourself in, because my full love and my full affinity or affection is not fully taken away from you. It is just modified in a way that can help encourage you to develop, because I will give you more. You just have to earn it, like credit. Trust is credit. It is a credit value. If you were to approach it like that, then one, you don't give people perfect credit scores right out of the gate. You give them a permissible credit score based off of your allocatable resources. If you don't get the return on investment, how much of that actually will hurt you in a way that you may not recover, and you protect that level of your asset. And then you also have to look into how many different lines of credit have you given out and what's the return on those with predictable outcomes. So you just don't overdo it, because what if, all people that you have enrolled in this new credit system that you have for trust and action worthiness, or predictability worthiness, you may have them all come in at the same time and really leave you destabilized, where if you give 5% of your available resources to each one, but you have a permissible level of 20, but you've got, let's say, 5 people that you've done that with, well, you're in a negative of 5% of what your actual operating needs are when it comes to resources. And those needs can be, why does everybody keep lying to me? There's a point in time whenever you just get to the point where you've heard enough and you're like, a lot of people seem to lie, but I think that more people are going to tell the truth on average. But still, it does seem like a lot of people are lying. You're okay there, because it's just a reality. Then you get into I've been lied to many times. I'm no longer going to say it's okay, or that, that there's still plenty of people that tell the truth. I'm going to start encroaching in on that and saying, you know what, pretty much everybody lies. Everybody misleads, whatever. Because as soon as you get past a permissible level, then you start going down the wrong path in your own mind, and you start condemning people that have never even interacted with you, but you come to them with skepticism you come to them with cynicism instead of skepticism. Cynicism will start killing it before it ever shows up, because it's a very pessimistic way of looking at things, and it's a destructive way of looking at things that have possibility in front of you, because now you're giving people a hurdle that they're not prepared to jump. You can make hurdles that people are prepared to jump based on the level of what's required. Let's say if you're going to give a loan to somebody, again, to go back to that, you can say, well, these hurdles are behavioral hurdles that I need you to jump. I need you to accomplish these in order to actually make me feel better about the loan and know that I'm going to get a return on this investment. Again, my interest levels on loans, whenever it's a personal thing, is their development is usually the interest. I expect this much work out of you in order to accomplish that. This is self-development work that I expect out of you. And if you don't do it, then you may have to pay me back immediately. I want you working on these things. Like that kind of thing. So anyway, all right, a lot there. You'll better be able to protect yourselves is some of the other things you can do with this information, because you understand where people are, and you don't have to kill people off because they've ever lied. You don't need to quarantine them in a place that doesn't allow them to actually be able to find freedom again, to be able to be self-expressive and be true again to themselves. You don't know what they were going through in that stage of life, because they may not have shared it with you. Or they may have been going through a growth thing that you couldn't recognize. They're going from being 8, 9, 10, 12 years old, whatever age they are in their adolescence, where they locked themselves from growth because they didn't get guidance or they were afraid or punished or whatever for their desire to grow. They may be going through that process, and that process may show up as a lie at times because they may not have as much confidence in who they are as they're telling you what's going on in their reality, because they're like, I don't want you to think less of me because I'm going through that. That's the language of, I'm developing. I don't want you to think less of me. Versus, I'm developing and I want your support, and this is where I'm at, and fuck, this is ugly, but this is true. That gives more potential because it can accelerate the opportunity because it's such a degree of honesty. Most of us don't want to do that because it makes us look bad, which makes us feel like we're actually losing value as far as the other person's view of us, because we have such a weird movement right now in the way that we see things, optimism, no toxicity, all these other things that really pushes people out of opportunity for growth. Now, sure, there's reasons for that. Some of those people are outside of your privy to be able to help. To me, there's nearly no one on this planet that can be helped. Like, everybody can be helped to some degree, but it's going to be in themselves. They just need the guidance, and then to understand their own resources to be able to make progress, because that's the best way to do it. Don't do it for them. If you do it for them, you can enable them very easily, and then they become expectant of your behaviors in order for them to be successful. That's not a good way to do things, because you do that for your children. Doing that for other people that aren't your children can be very challenging. That's why I put parameters on that growth. If you're going to ask me for money or some other resource value, I expect this in return, which is the sweat equity of their growth, if you will. That's their interest, not the money values and the multipliers in money. That's not so much for me on a personal level. On a business level, you better fucking believe it. I want to see the return on my money on top of the behavior shift if you're going to be associated with my company. So, all right, you can forgive yourself with this, because there's a lot of times that you may have also been labeled as a liar, and you need to forgive yourself so you can break free, because you don't want to try to break free with that as your shame module, your shame motivator. It says, I just don't want to be that bad person again. You don't have to take that approach. I mean, if you do and it's successful, great, but you don't have to go that route. You don't need to go that I'm a bad person direction. Forgive yourself and be like, yeah, I've made mistakes and I don't plan on doing it ever again. I just needed to have this foundation and fundamental values of growth. And if once I got it, man, I'm so much better now, because you dealt with the child version of me in that world, or that immature version of me in that world. But now you're dealing with the more mature version of me. And this is because I've developed myself. Like, I want an army of people that say, Chad, thank you so much for being so valuable in my life. Thank you for setting me free. That's what I want. That's what my actions line up with. I'm not going to do this for anybody, but I'm doing it for everybody. It's pretty interesting, but I'm not going to enable anyone. So you can forgive yourself. You can invest in a more meaningful future, which is right in alignment with what I'm talking about, because that is what my actions are. I'm investing in a meaningful future. Yeah. To say I made a difference in this life. I want to be able to help people see their own greatness. A lot of that does take self-forgiveness, but it also takes investing the effort in helping other people overcome their challenges. So, wow. I don't want to be labeled as a crying podcaster. Jesus Christ. I'm just very passionate about this. Okay. Well, you can be an agent for change. You have that ability. You actually do, and that's part of your power. But a lot of us can't change without being a hypocrite. You can't be an agent for change without being a hypocrite. That's why you need to work on yourself first. Demonstrate to other people that you're working on you. And when you do that, you're more of an agent for change versus a hypocrite, because you could always go back and be like, look, I haven't got to that yet. But thank you for bringing it to my attention. And I'm ashamed of what I have had, if that's what you need to say, to get people to understand. Yes, you're taking ownership and responsibility for what you've done in the past, but you're creating a different outcome. You're not a hypocrite when you say that, because you just want to make a difference. You can be a disruptor. So, all right. Wow. Boy, this episode really hit pretty good. That's also because of the way that I've been throughout my life. I've always chosen honesty, but I had to come up with ways to manipulate the information that people were receiving, because, it's easier to not feel like you're being threatened when you give partial truths or encrypted truths or half truths, lies by omission. It's easier to get by with a moral compass with that category. And that's part of what's got me so emotional, is because I didn't correct that until recently. And for that lesson, I'm eternally grateful. So I decided to dedicate my life to be a disruptor, to make things greater, to make things more desirable, to bring fulfillment to life, to give people more of a reason to feel like they're here. Purpose. So, anyway. All right, that's it for today. Oh, man. What a powerful episode for me. I hope you guys got something out of it. Shit. Put a comments in the comment section. Let the community know. Hell, I'm willing to put myself out there this vulnerable. Every day. Working towards making things, every day working on making things better or more desirable, better outcomes, more structured, to really help people develop along the way. I don't have all the right answers, but I've got the curiosity to find them. Anyway, I'm not your therapist. I am just the creator of the Maturity Project. And I want to see a difference. So, join me in that. Put something in the comment section. Help with the community side of maturity. It's part of it. That's a secondary of maturity. Let's put this thing together. Let's create something great together. Okay? Contribute to other people in your life. Share this video with somebody you want to have a conversation that's meaningful, to start turning things in, a more desirable direction that frees us up. Let's go for that. Okay? So, with that, I am your host, Chad Everett Brochures, and this is the Maturity Project. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. Let's move this community forward as well. The path to hell is paved with good intentions, man. We need to interrupt that path. We need to be the ones that stop this downward slope to hell that we're on. Heaven and hell is a choice that we make in this life. We create that with our decisions and our actions. Let's create as much heaven as we can. You won't be there alone. So we got to get other people to join us. All right. Well, independence and ability to develop yourself in such a way that you don't need to take from everybody else in order to be successful. Man, that is a beautiful heaven to create. A contribution. Join me in that. All right, until next time. Let's get up to some stuff, shall we? We got a world to save. Let's go.